Democratic Senator Joe Donnelly of Indiana announced his support for Gorsuch just this afternoon. That makes just 3 Democrats, all of whom are up for re-election in 2018. Joining me to discuss this and more, Brian Darling, former Senior Communications Director for Senator Rand Paul and columnist at The Observer, and Elizabeth Gore, a Democratic strategist. Good Sunday to you here. And Brian, what do you think will be driving these final votes? We still have some Democrats. We don't have the full 41 that's needed here. Some of them are in red districts. Claire McCaskill, we saw, moved into that column just on Friday saying, I am now going to go for the filibuster. I support that. What do you see happening here this week?
Well, you have 2 issues. Issue number 1 are red state Democrats. You had Heitkamp. You had Joe Manchin, who's in a red state. You've had some senators who are Democrats who are leaning towards voting for confirming and announcing they're going to vote yes to confirm. They'll vote against a filibuster because they're worried about their re-election. Others that are in clearly red states have decided the other way, like Claire McCaskill of Missouri. So you've got political considerations that are going to come down, but also, very important, the institution of the Senate is under attack. I mean, if you were to get rid of the filibuster and nominations completely, it would chip away at the traditional role of the Senate. I think the nuclear option probably, it looks like it may be used, and if it's used, it should always be a last option. I think one thing that's overlooked is it's possible to force an actual talking filibuster and get back to the traditions of the Senate. If Democrats want to filibuster this nomination, they should follow the advice of the Heritage Foundation. Rachel Bovard wrote a piece in The Hill today where she talked about something called the 2-speech rule, which would force an actual talking filibuster. I think that's what the American people want to see.
Elizabeth, your thought on this?
Well, I think Neil Gorsuch is going to be confirmed this week, but I think that he's going to be confirmed after Senator McConnell changes the rules. I agree with Brian. I think that it is a mistake. I think that it really undermines the role of the Senate. Listen, the Supreme Court it's a critical appointment that they're dealing with, and they should be able to have some kind of middle ground consensus requirement. That's what 60 votes does. The president has come up short in terms of his ability to find a consensus nominee, and I think it's going to have long-term effects on the way that the Senate operates, and I think that's a real shame.
But you would have to agree that Gorsuch is a very qualified candidate, somebody who is deserving of being in the Supreme Court. And sadly, Democrats brought this on themselves. I mean, in 2013, when then Senate Majority Leader Harry Reid pulled the nuclear option and every nomination but the Supreme Court, he sent the Senate down this road. So it's unfortunate we've come to this point, and yes, it is breaking the rules to change the rules, but both parties shares guilt in this act that's going to take away a little bit of what makes the Senate great.
Elizabeth,
well, I would just say that there's a difference between a district court judge and a Supreme Court justice, and the rules should reflect that there is a difference. And I'm not sure that the changes that that Senator Reid put in place were a great idea, but those are done, and now we're looking forward. And there's no question that Senator Gorsuch is outside the mainstream legal thinking. That's why he can't get 60 votes. And so I think that we should start over and try and find somebody who can meet this test of 60 votes in the Senate. It's a long-standing tradition, and it's an important one.
But it's not. It really isn't a long-standing tradition. I mean, you did have Justice Alito was filibustered. He got over 60 votes on that filibuster. You look back to Clarence Thomas. He was not filibustered, only got 52 votes. So it's unprecedented to have a successful filibuster like this. I know that.
Let's leave it with Elizabeth now. 15 seconds. We got to close this up. Although a very good conversation.
Well, I would say that the Heritage Foundation, I'm a Democrat, I don't always quote them, but the filibuster protects the rights of all senators and therefore the interests of all Americans. The Heritage Foundation said that in 2011, and interestingly enough, it was Brian himself who said that. So I think he'd be more interested in protecting that.
It's almost like the two of you know each other. I just wind you up both and let you go. I had a full list of things to go through, but you covered them all for me. Brian Darling, Elizabeth Gore, thank you so much.
Thanks a lot.
All righty. Canada.